But this is my choice, and it's highly influenced by the guild. It's highly influenced by a lot of different factors in terms of what healers are going to be viable for high-end tier raiding. And I'm looking at a healer that's also going to be strong for 5 months and brings me joy in this game. And guys, keep in mind, my choice is influenced by a lot of high-end raiding factors and things like that. If you're not looking to do endgame raiding or endgame Mythic Plus, honestly, just play the healer that brings you the most joy. Hello guys, welcome to my new video, and today we'll be talking about the healer that I'm going to main in 8.2. And like many of you watching this video, when making a choice about the main for 8.2, it's very important because the amount of grinding that's associated with the new patch is actually insane, with the new essences, with the rep grind, with many different things. So I kind of want to have an option of grinding 2 healers, possibly 3 if I go really hardcore. But it's safe to say that I'll probably only have the time for 2 healers, and my choice is also going to be heavily influenced by guild. I need to take into consideration anyone who's playing at high-end content. They need to consider what healer meta is going to be popular, and I already know my basic idea of a optimal healer setup in the new raid. For a lot of the raid encounters, you're required to bring 4 or even 5 healers, and I already can see what the healing meta is looking like in raid situations. I can kind of see a general idea of what healers are going to be strong in 5 mans. And this video is not really going to be talking about the meta. There's going to be a video that I'm going to be releasing in a couple of days about the best healer setup. So look out for that as well in the next couple of days. But today I'll be talking about the healers that are fun. They are fun for me, highly personal video. Keep this in mind. They are fun for me in 5 mans. They are fun for me in raids. Keep in mind that my choice, I only have a choice of 3 healers that I can main because of the guild restrictions. There's already healers that, or there's already players who are playing Discipline Priests, there's already players that are playing Mistweavers, there's already players that are playing Holy Paladins and things like that. But overall, I want to talk about my favorite healers in 5 mans, and that is going to be, most likely in this situation, going to be Resto Druid. And it's not only because they're overpowered. A lot of people will see that in 8.15, in MDI, Resto Druids were just dominating, and nothing has changed. There's no changes as of yet. As I'm making this video, there's no changes for Resto Druids in terms of nerfs or buffs or anything like that. So it's kind of easy for me to say that Resto Druid is still probably going to be one of the top, if not the best healers in 5 mans. So not only they're going to be very valuable, and that's kind of taking into account that a group might not even need a battle res. Like there's a chance maybe a Guardian Druid is going to come in, maybe a Blood DK is going to be more viable, maybe Balanced Druid is going to be stronger with the new Beguiling single target affix. So all of a sudden you might not even need a battle res from Resto Druid, because that was one of the big draws towards Resto Druid in MDI. But that might not be the case in 8.2. But even if that happens, Resto Druid brings so much more than a battle res. The way that they do damage, the way that they heal with HOTS, the way that they do damage with dots and bleeds, and they're capable of dealing damage and healing at the same time, kind of, makes them an extremely strong pick for meta. Especially considering that it feels so fun. And you'll notice me throughout the video referring to healer DPS, and a lot of people might be confused about, hey, is he talking about DPS or healers here? The fact is that if you're trying to push high-end content, so high-end mythics, high-end raiding situations, healer DPS is immensely important because of how Mythic Plus is designed, how raids are designed. So all of a sudden, a healer that cannot provide reliable sources of DPS, their ranking or their viability is highly diminished in 5-man content and in raid content. If you're not doing high-end content, that doesn't really matter. But I'm looking to push both high-end Mythic Plus in 8.2 and high-end raids in 8.2. So I'm looking at a healer that's able to provide DPS viable in all content. And Resto Druid in 5 months is looking really strong. Don't get me wrong, Holy Paladin with Glimmer of Light has been one of the climber specs for me. All of a sudden, Glimmer feels so fun, where you can place glimmers on enemy mobs, where you can place glimmers on allies, and they heal DPS at the same time. It's so fun to pop all your cooldowns with Wings, your Holy Avenger, and like go at it on a boss and maybe be top DPS for a short period of time. Their burst is insanely strong, and it's going to be interesting to see how are they going to synchronize with Vision of Perfection, Essence, So all of a sudden, Holy Paladin in raids and 5-mans is my climber spec. I'm liking Glimmer of Light more and more and more. At the start of BfA, I said I'll never play Holy Paladin because I think Holy Paladins received the worst changes coming from Legion into BfA. I felt they were really dull. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people who enjoy the playstyle, and you know, it's your choice. For me, Holy Paladin was gutted. From Legion coming into BfA, it was a gutted spec. I really didn't like the changes. I was very vocal about the changes. And then Glimmer came about, and now I'm loving it. I'm loving Holy Paladin, and there's a chance I might even be playing Holy Paladin in the very near future as well. So in 5-mans, I enjoy my Resto Druid. Holy Paladin is fun. I'm liking my Resto Shaman a lot in these heavy healing weeks with Quaking, Bursting, or Grievous or whatever, where you really need to heal. You get your high tide chain heal. It's gonna get the people, like, you know, you're gonna chain heal people with 6 bursting stacks from 10% to like 50%. It's gonna go into your cloud burst, your popular cloud burst, and now you have this healing burst that is it's kind of unmatched, and it feels so fun. But when there's nothing to do on healing weeks, where there's very little healing needed to be done, and a lot of the healing is going towards your tank, and you have to kind of go Urge Shield, you might not have Echoes of the Elements, you might not have double lava burst, you might not be able to use your Ignis potential to its full potential. Or at least I find Resto Shamans to be a bit more boring. So they kind of change. My enjoyment of Resto Shamans in Mythic Plus change from week to week. And I'm kind of excited to see Mistweavers coming into this, you know, new PvP essence wave, the Crane, which is going to, it might not be the most overpowered essence, but it's going to be an essence that's probably going to be the most fun. And it's going to change Mistweaver gameplay in 5-mans, because I am completely burned out of my Mistweaver and 5-man content. I did so much Mythic Plus with my Mistweaver that at this point, I don't enjoy Mistweaver in 5-mans at all. I just can't force myself to play it because I'm so burnt out. In raids, I still find Mistweaver to be fun, even though it is a very simplistic spec to some extent. A lot of your abilities, anyone who plays Mistweaver main, they know that a lot of your healing is taken care of by the game itself with the smart heals and things like that. But even that still kind of keeps me engaged. I don't know how to explain it. But this kind of brings me to raids. And the reason why I don't talk about priest that much, or at least I don't talk about priest that much in 5-man content, because I feel priests need somewhat of major changes in 5-man content to be more viable. Don't get me wrong, Discipline is actually, and I don't get to play Discipline as much because our raiding team already has 1, possibly 2 Discipline priests coming in, possibly 3 Discipline priests coming in. I don't get to play Discipline that much, but for the time that I played Discipline in 5-mans and in raids, I can see why people consider it to be the most evolved healing spec in the game. It is absolutely crazy good in terms of the rewards that it can give you if you play Discipline really well. It's just I never got to really experience Discipline to an extent that I wanted. And I won't get to experience Discipline in 8.2 because, like I said, our roster is already taken by the current Discipline priest, and I won't get to play Discipline, which is fine. So if you're coming to raid scenarios, Resto Druid is fine. I think it's really fun. I don't consider Resto Druid to be as fun in raids as it is in 5-mans. In 5-mans, I find my Resto Druid so much more engaging. In raids, don't get me wrong, the playstyle is involved. There's a lot more cooldown management. You can really do a lot of nice healing, but I just don't have the same draw towards Resto Druid. Every week when we get to re-clear mythic content with my guild, I get the choice of all the 5 healing classes or 6 healing specs. I can bring any of them to the raid re-clears. And I always kind of tend to go with Resto Shaman. For some reason, Resto Shaman, Cloud Burst usage, Chain Heal and things like that, it always brings a lot of joy to play Resto Shaman in raids. And I think my favorite healer in raids is a Resto Shaman. Even though I do enjoy every other healing spec. I enjoy my Resto Druid, I enjoy my Mistweaver, I enjoy my Discipline Priest, I enjoy my Holy Priest as well. I enjoy all of the healing specs. I enjoy my Glimmer of Light Paladin immensely as well in raids. So in raid situations, all the healers, I find them really fun. And in 5-mans, I'm mainly really enjoying Resto Druid. And kind of Glimmer of Light is kind of coming in there, and it's going to be interesting to see how Mistweaver's way of the Crane is going to turn out. But in terms of what heal I'm actually going to main for 8.2, like I mentioned at the start of the video, it is going to be highly impacted by the guild's decision or our raiding composition, because right now we have Discipline Priests, we have a Mistweaver Monk, we have a possible Holy Paladin as well. So all of a sudden I only have 3 choices that I can make, and that is Resto Druid. There's no one in a guild who is playing Resto Druid. I have a choice of a Holy Paladin. There's already a person who plays Holy Paladin in our guild, but having 2 Holy Paladins with Glimmer of Light, I can see that as being a strong option, because first of all, I feel Holy Paladins are going to be very strong. Second of all, I see Discipline Priest being very strong in 8.2 in the new raid and things like that. Damage reduction healers are looking to be really strong. Healers that can provide damage and healing at the same time are looking to be very impactful in the new raid. I don't see a problem of having 2 Holy Paladins with Glimmer of Light. Then I also have another option of bringing Resto Shaman. Now Resto Shaman seems to have fallen into this more utility spec all of a sudden with, if you need, basically this is the whole point of Resto Shamans right now. If you need Battle Rest Totem, Resto Shaman is absolutely the best healer. You saw that in Mythic Jaina. Resto Shamans and the Battle Rest Totem was so impactful. They made Resto Shamans the strongest healer. You see in Resto Shamans being used as a support healer where they will stack 3 Igneous Potential and they can just DPS for the whole time, do like 17k DPS or whatever, and then they can heal when needed, use their Spirit Link when needed, use their whatever cooldowns they have when needed, and then go back to DPS. So Resto Shaman is like, has so many different roles, and based on the cooldowns, based on boss fights, they can be very strong. So I have an option of doing that as well. I think for the time being, I am going to focus on Resto Druid. So when 8.2 hits, I'm going to try and get the essences, try to grind with my Resto Druid, because it's safe to say Resto Druid is still probably going to be the best 5-man healers. No changes have happened to Resto Druids as of yet. They're looking to be as a strong healer in raids, not a mandatory healer in my eyes, because I see the damage reduction, or like I mentioned, Discipline Priest, Holy Paladin as being a stronger, more viable option, but I see Resto Druid still being a good part of your healing roster, and I'm going to try and, you know, get my Resto Druid in order for 8.2. Now the second healer that I'm probably gonna go with is kind of undecided yet. I have an option of going with Holy Paladin or Resto Shaman. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, I probably will focus with 2 healers, maybe 3 healers if I have a lot of time to play. So I will make my choice based on Holy Paladin or Resto Shaman later down the line. It's looking like Holy Paladin for the time being because, like I mentioned at the start of the video, Holy Paladin is like the climber spec for me in terms of viability and in terms of fun. At the end of 8.15, Glimmer of Light was climbing and climbing and climbing, and at the new patch 8.2, it's looking like Holy Paladins with Glimmer of Light are just gonna get better and better and better. Even with the Glimmer nerf, they're still looking to be a very solid choice in raids and a decent choice in 5-mans. So it's kind of looking to me like Resto Druid is going to be my main, Holy Paladin is probably going to be my backup, with possibly Resto Shaman following third. And then when I have more time, I'll try and get every single healer geared up. I would love to hear your opinions about which healer you're going with, which healer you are going to choose for 8.2, because it is a big choice, because the grinding is immense. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in my next guide.